Welcome to the Sacred Reclamation Podcast. Here we will be exploring how we can reclaim the sacredness of birth, life, death, and all the happenings in between. My name is Sydney Sands, and my intention with this podcast is to reclaim the art of storytelling. This is a space where we will practice allowing the simple act of telling our stories and listening to the stories of others to be medicine for our bodies and spirits. I invite you to keep an open mind and an open heart as you listen to these stories. Grab a cup of tea, maybe a little snack, and settle in for story time. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Sacred Reclamation Podcast. I'm your host, Sydney Sands, and today on the show I have my friend Reilly Campbell. Reilly and I met, I think, 2 years ago at the Matriarch Rising Festival, which I met a ton of amazing women there. We both were volunteering, doing work trade, and we were working kids camp, so we got to spend that like 4 or 5 days together. And then we've just kept in touch since then through voice messages and texting and phone calls, and it's been really sweet. And we just have this like almost weird connection, like connection points, amount of connection points, just similarities in our life. And so, yeah, we've really connected in those ways. And it's been really sweet getting to know you. And I'm really happy and excited to be sitting down with you now. So thank you for being here.
Oh, thanks for having me, Sydney. I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. So before we start, I would love to just ground in with a little guided meditation. So for you, Reilly, if you want to get comfortable and anyone listening, start to get a little bit comfortable. Maybe start to notice your breath. Maybe you notice it where it's at and you land on a descriptor word. Maybe it's shallow. Maybe you're breathing deep already and full. Or maybe you just decide to deepen your breath immediately and drop in that way. And if you feel comfortable and safe, I'll invite you to go ahead and close down your eyes. And today we're gonna actually do a like semi-silent meditation. So we'll basically just sit in silence for 1 minute, and then I'll come in with a little bit of guidance. And then we'll do another minute, and we'll do 3 minutes of silence. Just want to kind of play around and see what comes through when we sit. If your thoughts are racing, if your mind is racing, know that that's okay, and really let your breath be your anchor. But try to be gentle with yourself. Like there's no way to do this wrong. All right, so take another deep inhale through the nose, filling up your belly with air, letting your belly get big. Maybe you pause and hold it at the top. And then a long, slow exhale through the nose or mouth. You can keep that breath going for this minute of silence. If there are any sounds around you and you're not in complete silence, know that that's okay. Notice them, acknowledge them, and then come back to your breath. Take another deep breath in together through the nose, filling up your belly, your chest. Long, slow exhale through the nose or mouth. And we'll move through another minute of silence. Your mind will do what minds are meant to do. Think and wonder and remember. You're just practicing, almost like training your mind to come back. Each time your mind wanders away, just gently invite it back to this present moment in your deep breath. Another inhale through the nose. Make it be the biggest breath you've taken all day. You pause at the top. Let it out through your nose or mouth. All right, let's take an energetic breath. Bring some energy in to kind of come back into this present moment, into the body. I was kind of drifting off into la la land there. So we'll bring it back with a deep, kind of sharp inhale, sharp exhale. Maybe two more. Really try to push out some extra breath on that last breath. Mm. All right, when you're ready, start to wiggle your fingers and toes, gently opening your eyes, looking around your space. If you have a window, look out the window, check out a plant, look at the sky. All right. That was nice.
Oh, that was really nice. My cat, Suki, has come to join us. Hello. Hello.
Hello, kitty.
Yeah, come sit.
All right. So I would love to set intentions for this conversation now. If you have one, you can go ahead and throw it out there. I think I need a moment for mine to land.
Yeah, yeah. I think my intention for this is just to be relaxed and present and allow whatever needs to come through in a very authentic fashion. Yeah, for it to be like we were talking about, just mutually beneficial for everyone, um, for myself and for everyone listening. My intention.
Yeah. I love that. Thank you. My intention is to just sit in this energy of joy and gratitude to be spending this time with you. Yeah, I just feel this excitement in my heart and in my body, and it feels really good. So I'm gonna sit in that and just bask in it and let it, offer it to you and whoever's listening.
Yeah, I love that. It makes me smile. Hearing you say that.
Yeah. We need more joy in the
Mm.
world.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So I'm going to hand it over to you to introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about who you are, where you're from,
Mm.
who you're from, whatever you want to share with us.
Okay. So, my name is Riley, and I am 25 years old. I am currently living in Michigan. My fiance and I just moved into like this wonderful lake cottage that we are so obsessed with. Um, yeah, currently looking outside and there's like two geese swimming around. So it's just such a gift. We moved to Michigan like 2.5 years ago from Austin. That's Austin, Texas. That's where I grew up. Um I lived in one house essentially my whole life. I think we moved there when I was like two, and my parents still live there. It's in a cul-de-sac, and I just grew up running around the neighborhood streets with all of my neighbor friends. Had a pretty like normal suburban life. Very Felt very loved. Yeah, I had two younger siblings. I'm the oldest of three. We're all 4 years apart. So like almost exactly. And I always joked that because my mom's a pediatrician and my dad's a financial advisor, they like completely planned that. It was like only one kid in college at a time. And then by the time they had a baby, the older
Mm,
kid was like potty trained and pretty independent. And they say they didn't plan it exactly, but I I feel like it was divinely planned that way. Yeah, my fiance and I, we went to UT Austin and then graduated and were feeling into like what was next. And we knew that we wanted to move out of Austin. We really wanted a more like cyclical life, closer to nature, closer in tune with the seasons. We wanted that for ourselves and for our future family. And so we started doing research, and that's what brought us to Michigan. Also, my mom grew up in Michigan, and she's got like 46 cousins. So, like, my whole maternal side of the family is like in Michigan, and I'm not super close with them, but living here, I've kind of gotten to know them a bit more and reconnected with that, which has been really beautiful. Um, I actually have my great grandmother's diary, and she lived just like an hour away from me now. And so getting to read through her diary and her talking about places she went and just get to connect with her in that way is really cool, like being where she was. Um,
that's very cool. That's very special.
I know. It's like, yeah, one of my favorite things. So that kind of drew us to Michigan. Um, we're sad to be away from family. that's like the bummer of it. I'm trying to like convince everybody to come follow me. They all know it. They all know it. I'm like, come up to Michigan. Um, but Austin is just, it's gotten so hot and it's so much like LA. And I just love like the slower pace up here. Really like feels so good in my body and soul.
Hmm.
We're still pretty. I mean, even though I'm kind of getting like frustrated lately, like we're still in winter a bit. Like spring is coming, but it's like 35 degrees out. So, uh, oh, it's coming slowly this year.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a cold winter. Was it a cold winter up there?
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
I think everywhere. Just a long winter. Um, yeah. Yeah. What else to say about me? Before we moved, we traveled for 4 months around Europe. And that is something that I'm so grateful for. It was quite an adventure. But I always look back because we were like 22 and we are like, okay, we're going to travel Europe and then we're going to move across the country and then we're going to figure it out and like find jobs. And I always like look back to that and I'm like, okay, if we could do that, like we can do anything. Like that was it's proof, like where I'm living now. I'm like, it's proof that like what I want, I can create.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's kind of a through line of my life is I'm such a go-getter. Like if I want something, I'll get it. Um, and I'll just figure it out. I'll make it happen. It's like with this lake house too. I saw it on Zillow and we weren't planning to move till July. And I was like, I think I need that house. I think I need to live there. And it probably like it was a slow process. It probably was like 2 months of like sitting on it and then realizing it was still on the market and being like, oh, we should actually like go check that out and like actually pursue it. And then we went and checked it out. And then it was probably another month of like, can we really do this? Is this smart? We're about to get married. Like, maybe we should just wait. Um, but it felt right. It was all so perfect. Like our bedroom, I am like really big on my environment. That's something that maybe we'll get into more, but I feel like environment is everything. And so I have, in dreaming of being a mom one day, I have sketched my dream like postpartum bedroom. And so I've like drawn it out and how everything's going to be organized. And I have in this drawing on the wall, there's like hooks. There's hooks lining the wall and there's a big window. And in this bedroom, we walked into it and there's already hooks lining the whole entire bedroom
Oh
along the
my
wall.
God.
And there's a giant window that looks outside. I saw it and I was like it felt like it was just, it came out of my brain and like created itself. So that's really special. And yeah, also another thing about me, yeah, is that I just really, that's like my biggest dream in life is to be a mom. And so most of my life has just been oriented to how can I make that the most like blissful experience? How can I really enjoy motherhood?
Mm.
Like that's what I want to do. Yeah, I've been a nanny since I can remember. So I feel like that is also given to that desire of like I've just worked with a lot of kids and a lot of families and been able to see how how different experiences that the parents have affect the children, the way that the parents interact with the children affect them, the way that affect the children and affect the parents and how they're feeling. Like I I want to be a good mother because of course I want my children to have a good mother, but like I want to like be a good like I want to be a good mother for myself. Like I want to feel good and confident in what I'm doing and feel just vital in that experience. So that's kind of I guess one of my main orientations in life is just how can how can I make that happen?
I love that you know that, and I love that you let that kind of inform your whole life because I feel like that is has been kind of lost in modern times, and I feel like it's kind of rare to, we've been through so many waves of waves of feminism, honestly, that have been like, diluting the value of what it is to be a mother and like we've been kind of a lot of propaganda around that that's not something to do with your life, that like that's a small
Mhm.
ridiculous thing to do with your life and it's like you're literally keeping the species alive. Like this is what this is what every this is what every living being is doing, and that's like the most holy, important, sacred job. And yet, somehow, as humans, we've convinced ourselves that it's not important and it's more important to go out and build a big career and make a bunch of money and, have all the things. And it's like, that stuff is cool too, but at the end of the day, when you strip all the unnecessary shit away, like, mothers
Yeah.
are like doing the work of humanity.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like that happened to me where I got convinced that like, okay, I need to go to like this great university and I'm gonna get this job. And I majored in sociology and I kind of wanted to go into like nonprofit work. And through that whole process of working in nonprofits and like studying society and people, and I was trying to find like what is like the most important work, right? Like what can I do to really make a difference in this world? Um, and I'm working for like these nonprofits that are doing great things, They're I worked in a variety of different places, but like, supporting children and families and um those are good things, but what I came to always was that it starts at the beginning, Like it starts at the beginning. And what's the beginning? Mothers and babies. Like that's always. And I love that quote. Like there's only two types of people in this world, mothers and babies. And like
Yeah.
that's just that's all there is. And that's what shapes people, that's what shapes cultures, that's what shapes the world. And so yeah, that brought me to birth and I like got really into birth for a while. I would say I'm still into it. But yeah, that because of course birth is just everything. Like
Yeah.
we're talking about the beginning of it all and it's just the coolest freaking thing. Um and like imprints people. But yeah, that whole thread of like I really was like, I'm gonna be like a nonprofit, like a founder of a nonprofit. And like it was, if you know anything about the nonprofit industrial complex, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, I encourage you to look into it. But I was like, okay, that's a sham. Um, that's actually not making as much of a difference as I would like to, or it didn't feel like real. Um, And so, yeah, I've kind of pivoted through a lot of different avenues of trying to find what feels real. Um,
Mm. Yeah, I feel like that is such a such a worthy journey. And I don't know, it's not common, but it's a common thread actually on this podcast of people I've had on the podcast is like wanting to make impact in the world and then trying to kind of do it in a more traditional way and then being like, "Oh, wait, what? This is weird. This isn't what I thought it was." And then being like, "Okay, I got to do this on my own or I got to create something new." And I feel like that question of like what is real is something that drives a lot of conscious creators. And I feel like that is such an important, I'm like getting goosebumps right now. I feel like that's such an important question to hold and to sit with, like now in the times that we're living in of like what is real with like anything from social media and the crazy weird filters on there that change your face,
Yeah.
AI, like
Mhm.
getting 100 scam calls every day. Like
Oh,
asking what is real in this and that can I mean that can also be a way deeper question, of people who I was just listening to a podcast with Deepak Chopra on it, and he's like, really deep into his message, and he was really just talking about like none of this is actually real. And that's a little too far for me personally.
yeah.
I get what he's saying, but
Mhm.
I'm such an earth woman. Like I need to be rooted in this earth and like
Yes.
my body as earth, and that really helps me guide my journey. But oh my God, what a question. What is real?
Yeah. Yeah. You seriously could go so many directions with that. And it's like it's a big one. But it's also like I don't think there's really an answer, you know. I think that then leads us to like the mystery of life. Like what is real is pretty subjective, I think, per person. Somebody could argue that like AI is created by humans and it's real and whatever, and another person could be like, no, that's not my reality. That's not what I live in. Um, yeah, for me, like my reality, I feel like the most real thing is just this giving and receiving of love. Um,
Mm.
like that's something that I've been drawn to lately and keep coming back to is like, and that's what motherhood is. That's what sex is. That's what birth is. That's what just stewarding the earth. That's just like all of these base rawness of life is just like the giving and then receiving too of love.
I love that. I really want to get more into that because I feel like you're
Yeah.
going somewhere with that. But before we go there, is there anything else that we need to know about you? Or are there any like stories that kind of set the scene or like planted seeds in you that made you blossom into the woman that you are today?
Hmm. But good question. I guess it's just important to know that I feel like I really, like I kind of touched on, I really grew up surrounded by community. Um, I had my blood relatives. I also had my like neighbor family. So we had like the street of neighbors, and we were all, and still to this day, like my neighbor will just walk into the door and be like, "You guys got sugar," and it's like very casual, very open door. And I love that. And then my parents have these like family friends that have always been like aunts and uncles to me. They've known them since before I was born, and they all have just kind of like raised children together. And so I feel like I am really blessed with this like really like three or I mean you don't have to number it, but like a ton of just like family and community and like role models. And that's something I didn't really recognize until recently when I've been like um picturing what I desire around me as I become a mom and for my children, and realizing like, oh, I really did have that, like, have sort of that village growing up. And my parents really did have that. Like, I would go over to my friend's house and we would play together, and I would play with, a lot of times I was the oldest, and so I did a lot of caretaking, and I loved babies, and I like was a mother's helper when I was like 9, and so I would just like go over to my neighbors and help them with their little newborns, um, which was so sweet. And I played with baby dolls until I was like 15. Like I loved, I loved playing house. And I think that's another thing that kind of goes into that environment part I touched on was that like whenever I played house, it was like playing house was fun, like being the mom and all that. But what was really fun was setting up my house. I would like design it all, and I would like have it all laid out, and I'd have like the baby's crib and all of these things. And I loved that. Like I loved like creating the space that I was going to play mom in. Um, yeah, I feel like those really have shaped me. I've always I've done a lot of traveling and I feel like I have a lot of like a variety of experiences in my life. Um, which I'm really grateful for. I was just talking to my fiance this morning how cool it is that we know Spanish. And in Spanish they have, you have the feminine forms of things and the masculine in the language. And so like thinking about how that shapes your brain and how you view the world through like a feminine and masculine lens um, is really, I don't know, I think it's just really interesting. And I think it definitely like, I do not take that for granted to have that like asset of being able to see the world through a different language. And I mean, as you have talked about, Sydney, like language just shapes everything. Um,
Hmm.
and so, um, yeah, just having like variety of experiences in languages, and I just feel like I have a lot of lenses that I'm able to see the world through, which I'm, yeah, feel very grateful for.
Did you learn Spanish as a child or as an adult?
A little bit of both. I went to a preschool that was like my teacher spoke Spanish. I don't think it was technically a bilingual preschool, but like I grew up in Austin, Texas, so it was kind of like it was more common than a lot of other places, kind of everywhere. And then really learned it in college. Like my fiance and I, we studied abroad in Guatemala and
Oh.
spent like the summer there, like just fully immersed in Spanish, like with host families, and then one-on-one with a teacher, like 3 hours a day.
Very
Um,
cool. What part
yeah,
of Guatemala?
Antigua.
Okay. I don't know why I asked. I don't like know
Yeah, I'm like,
Guatemala that well. But Guatemala is like on my Lake Atitlan is like on
We
my
went
bucket
there.
list.
Yep. Yeah, you have to go. I love it. Antigua is like one of my favorite places I've ever been.
I love hearing you say that because I feel like well, this is like also the older generation, but when I've talked about wanting to go to Guatemala before, like Guatemala just has a bad rep. So it's like
Mhm.
I remember this old man saying to me once, like, why do you want to go there? Do you want to get murdered? And I was like, who says that?
Yeah.
Like, who says that when someone's like
Oh,
saying their bucket list of places to
yeah.
travel? Like, yes, that is why I want to go there,
Uh-huh.
sir.
I would love to get murdered. You're right. I
I'm
just
like, no, it's beautiful there, and
yeah.
the people and the culture like seem so rich. So
Mhm.
that's top on my list.
Yeah. Yeah, I would definitely go back. It's a pretty special place.
Mm, that's cool. So when did you and your fiance meet?
Yeah, we met freshman year of college.
Okay.
Um yeah, that's a pretty sweet story. We were in high school. We went to different high schools, but we lived like a mile away from each other. And never like we probably maybe bumped into each other. Had to have because also like there were so many things where when we met, I was like, I worked at this restaurant and he like went there all the time. And then I also worked at like the YMCA and he went and played basketball there like every day. So it was like I feel like there had to have been like times where like I saw him and I was like, that's a cute boy, but like, didn't do anything. Um, and then in college, yeah, it was our second semester of like our freshman year. And I was already, poor me, poor little Riley, I was like, I'm done with boys. Like, I am so over it. I don't want to date anybody. Um, and then one of my good friends, Zach, he was like, Riley, like, you have to meet this guy. You guys are like perfect. And I was like, no, no, Zach, I'm done with boys. And he goes, Riley, Aiden is a man.
Oh.
And I was like, okay, well, maybe I'll meet him. So then we like met and like we met through playing pool, like billiards, and we did that for like a month and then kind of like saw each other at a party and then actually. kindled our relationship. Um, and the rest is history. It's been like 7 years now, but that I like that in itself was just like there were so many things where I was like that was one of the points in my life where I grew up pretty like agnostic or like not atheist, but like didn't really have a religion. Kind of like there was a point where I was like, I don't know, God doesn't really exist. And I think that is one of the points in my life where I was like, no, I think God might like be a thing. Like because it was so divine. Like um us connecting. And then yeah, yeah. I've been together since and I think another touch point of finding God too is through learning about birth, of course. I mean,
Mm,
I feel like you can't separate those two. Like once I started learning about birth and hearing women's stories, I was just like, okay, yeah. And like that really helped me find a more like spiritual, maybe not even find, like remember this like spiritual orientation to life, and find the sacredness. Like, um, yeah, and reclaiming that.
yeah.
Mm.
Okay, before we go there, can we take a moment and just talk about the difference between boys and men?
Mm.
And it's not, I mean, it is an age thing, but that's not the only thing that separates boys and men. So I'd love to hear from you. Like, what's the difference between boys and men?
Ooh, ooh, I love that question. Well, obviously a little like maturity. Um, Let me think of whenever I met Aiden. Like I knew he was a man and not just this like little boy. A sense of self, I think, um, and a respect for women and for life, um, and just a general like groundedness. Like I remember feeling immediately like safe with Aiden. It wasn't this sense of like, oh, he's like a fuck boy or something. And he's
Mm,
like that type of feeling. It was like, yeah, they kind of wear their heart more on their sleeve. I wouldn't say like you need to do that, but the men I know are are real. Um, and yeah, they're not like so caught up in and wounded. I think a lot of boys are still very, I think a lot of men and a lot of boys and everyone are very wounded. Um, but if we're talking difference between boy and man, I think um, a man has had some sort of rite of passage
mm.
also that has allowed him to find more peace with himself and with the world.
Yeah, and like has an awareness of their wounding, maybe not necessarily
Hmm.
like healed,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
aware and like consciousness around wounding. I follow this family, this cute little family on YouTube. The channel is Justin Rhodes, but something he says, he has four sons and one daughter.
Mm.
And they like grow up, they have a little homestead, and so they're like little homeschooled farm kids. And
Cute.
his oldest sons are like turning, they're like 17 and 16. And one thing he says a lot is boys take and men give.
Mm.
And so, like you think of just like little boys, you're young and you're taking from your mother or your father, like because you need to. You need to be cared for because you don't, I mean, you have so much love to give, but everything else is like you really need to receive
Yeah.
it. And then as you get older and like with their lifestyle working on the farm, it's like they're slowly gaining more responsibility and like learning how to give back to the family and contribute to the family. And then once they're getting older, like he's really teaching them of like this is now it's for you to give. And I've actually been a lot of times I'm in conversation with myself a lot, but then like kind of trickling it out to people that are around me. And I was talking to my brother a couple months ago, and then I actually talked to his girlfriend about it recently, but about the same thing. And I was just saying how for me, like men, I don't want to say, I don't like saying the word should, but men are helpful. And it is that same energy of giving. Like men see something that needs to be done and they do it. They take care of it. You know, they have this sense of, like you said, groundedness and awareness, and they want to provide and like create. Like they're also these beautiful creators in a different way than women are, you know. And I also think that men really hold space in a big way that I think sometimes we're not even so aware of. Like they do it in this subtle way, but it's really impactful. And I think even men who are not consciously aware of it are doing it. Like I think of my dad, and my dad, I don't think my dad would really use the language of like, oh, I can hold space for you, but
Mhm.
in my eyes, that is kind of like one of the roles of a man in a family is just like kind of holding the container of the family and like, you know, allowing the chaos to happen and the peace and all of the things to happen, but they're still kind of like holding the perimeter, if that makes
Yes.
sense.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Yeah. Oh, the the give and the men give and the boys take. That's so accurate. And
Yeah.
yeah, I agree that men wouldn't be like, oh yeah, I hold space, but they totally do. Totally do. I recently went through, which yeah, just a pretty big experience. And it that's what I really recognized. I was like, oh, Aiden, like he's such a caretaker. Like, and the, you know, usually women are categorized as this caretaker, but men have such a caretaking part of them that is unrecognized a lot of time, or
Yeah.
you know, maybe categorized as something else. But yeah, there's that caretaking aspect that's a giving and a holding of space that they're really good at.
Yeah, I even think like sexually, when I think back to, you know, being sexually active and in re sexual relationships like in high school and college, and like the difference between boys and men is in sex, like boys are taking and just like what can I get from you?
Mhm.
Like give it to me. And whereas a man, when you get older and kind of mature into your sexuality and the sexual relationship with a man, it's like he's really wanting to give to you.
Yeah.
Obviously
Yeah.
give and receive, but there's a difference between receiving and taking, you know?
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Oh, men are so wonderful.
Yeah, it's taken me a while to get there. Like I used to be kind of a man hater.
Yeah, I feel like if you were a feminist, if you categorize yourself as a feminist, it was like guaranteed, like also you hate men. Because that was the
Yeah.
same for me. Like, yeah, it's
Yeah.
interesting.
And I feel like that was like, you know, a narrative in the bigger culture, but also my mom was very like always be able to take care of yourself, like
Mm,
never rely on anyone really, but like especially men, you know.
mm, mm.
But she had her own wounding around that, but it feels really potent and kind of surprising for me to like go down the journey of healing that. Like I don't think I ever saw that for myself. But it feels good.
Yeah, yeah, I
It's just
agree.
more like loving and compassionate, you know?
Yeah. Oh, it makes my shoulders and my jaw feel like they like relax. Like, yeah, I don't have to hold so much tension and like hatred for other people. Ah.
Yeah, when we stop like hating men or people and instead we can like love them and, you know, highlight the things that we love about them, like I think that really changes, like that can change the world, you know, the way that we think and treat each other.
Yeah.
Just because we're different or like whatever, like coming to it with love and compassion versus like hatred and distrust and misunderstanding. Like
Oh,
that
yeah.
just creates this energy of friction and
And everything is energy, you know? So like
Mhm.
even if you are just thinking or have like some sort of subconsciousness of like distrust, um, that translates into your relationship and your life and everything. Like those minuscule things are really strong.
Yeah. And I also think that when we have that energy of distrust towards other people, like on a deeper level, it's because we have a distrust with ourselves
Mhm.
and with God. And like, when you get into, I know it's a more spiritual conversation, but it's also not like there is science to back it up now in 2025. And when we think about everything being connected and like the illusion of separation. And so like I honestly I've never read the Bible, but I think this might be a Bible thing of like what you do unto another as you would unto yourself or something.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
I'm like, what am I doing quoting the Bible right now? But it's funny that I like wasn't raised religious at all, but I that's still like somewhere living in my mind.
Yes, same with me. Same with me.
But I feel like there is a lot of truth in I think there is I actually am like kind of curious to read the Bible. Like I gotta figure out what version to read so that it can like make sense to me. But because I feel like there is a lot of truth in there, that has been, diluted and manipulated in different ways. But to read the stories, I think would be really powerful. But it is like the older I get, the more I realize that like almost like all these religions and all these like thoughts of spirituality, like are really all saying the same thing.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I feel you. I also want to read the Bible. I think, like we're doing here, stories are everything. And I was just listening to this audiobook called Sand Talk. I don't know if you've heard of it, but there's this man who's an Aboriginal man and from Australia, and in it he was talking about how stories go straight to your long-term memory, and like whereas facts or like other types of information just go to your like short-term memory or like other parts of your brain. But engaging in story, especially in exchanging stories, is like goes to like the deepest part of your body. And so I think that is why in like the Bible and the Quran and like all these like really big religious texts, they speak in parable and myth and story because that's the best lessons.
I love that though. That's so interesting and it makes sense for learning. It makes sense because you think about how when you have memories of like, experiencing something and how it's just like, oh wow, that's there and you can just pull it up and access it and it feels so real. Like once you said that, I was like, that is kind of how it is when someone shares a story with you, or especially when you've been told a certain story over time.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
All right. So I know, thanks for going on that little boys to men tangent with me and then whatever else that led into. But I
Mhm.
know you were like just on the cusp of, you said something about, um, remembering God and remembering like the spiritual nature of life and reclaiming that. So I'm just gonna go in and ask you the big question is what are you reclaiming in this lifetime? Yeah, like what dance are you dancing? What song are you singing? What's your message?
Oh, oh, like everything. I feel like it's like this reclamation of like everything as sacred. Which is, I mean, I really resonated with your first episode, and I was like, yes, that's me too. I had this blog whenever I was in college. It didn't last very long, but it was called Enjoying the Everyday. And that's kind of what I feel like I am doing is I'm just really trying to reclaim this like the essence of life of like I was saying earlier, like the giving and receiving of love, this like exchange of caring for my environment is also caring for me and just like this caring for others is also caring for me and like Um, and it's also like sacred and important and like doing the dishes is like this like sweet monotony of just doing the dishes and caring um for your future self and caring for those dishes that um gave you food and you could eat off of. There's yeah, it's sort of like a broad thing, but I feel like that is truly what I'm reclaiming. It's just like the sacredness of life, like the little everyday things. The For instance, like I've built this like really beautiful, wonderful women's community here in Michigan that is so incredible. And we do women's circles every month. Um, and so that simple act of ceremony, of ritual, of gathering is um so lost today. Even what we were speaking to, like the art of just you and I sitting focused on this conversation together is um the same type of intention, like bringing to just a woman's circle, being able to just focus on listening and speaking with each other um without any like other distractions is so big. Um it's so healing. Like I know you know this. Like, I have never been to a women's circle that wasn't just like everyone just left feeling like they took something away. There's just like maybe not a lightness, but there's just a sense of like thank goodness I did that. Like my soul needed that. And the like reflecting in one another. The other thing I do with the women is we do mother blessings and we also do closing of the bone ceremonies. And so tomorrow I'm facilitating one for a woman who's I think she's like 3 months postpartum now. And I nanny for this little girl during the week, and I was telling her mom that I was gonna do that this weekend and she like started tearing up. She had never heard of a closing of the bone ceremony. And I told her about it and she was like, I feel like I need that. Like that is so big. And it just like those type of things, like gathering in community, like the connection, like the reclamation of the essence of life, which I would say is like this connection, this like giving and receiving of love, which means you need to be with other life forms a little bit, with people and being intentional about it and like recognizing like the sacredness of like, yeah, you are a mother now. You're a mother of two now. You're a mother of five now. Let's like honor what your body's been through this journey of um, bringing a new life into the world and then transforming into a new person yourself. Like it's huge. It's huge. And we like, oh, completely like write it off and like don't give any attention to it in this culture. And to be able to like sit in a circle of women, maybe like five women, and um honor this um transformed woman who's postpartum. She's got a newborn that she's taking care of. And she's also like completely reorganized. Um, and to be able to just like love her and give her warmth and wrap her up is everything. It's everything. It's like a few hours on a Sunday and a warm meal. And that just touches the lives of like every single woman who is there. I feel like it creates this like giant ripple effect when
Mm.
we can just simply like all we're doing is just simply like looking at her and holding her and like, wow, you did this. Congrats. And yeah, it's it's quite profound the impact that the ability to just recognize that as sacred has on the world, like the community around you and the woman herself.
Yeah. What what really sticks out to me when you were talking is the difference between being seen, like truly being seen
Mm.
and not being seen is so massive. And it's so simple. It is like really showing up in presence and like putting your phone away, deciding to go, bringing something to give, being open to receiving and just like seeing, yeah, taking the time and energy to see women for who they are and what they've done. Can you share with us, for those who don't know, what closing of the bones is?
Yeah, yeah. So it is a ceremony that is practiced in a lot of different cultures. I think um, mainly in Mexico, but I'm not sure quite of the history of it, but I've learned it passed down. And I think there can be a lot of variations of doing it, but the main essential idea is that a woman's energy field and her body and everything has completely opened during pregnancy. Physically, she's just expanded and mentally, spiritually, like she truly has to kind of expand to be able to bring this life into the world. And so the idea of closing of the bones is that we are supporting her with the closing of her energy field of her body and coming back in. And so the actual act itself is you use like cloth or fabric, scarves, and you wrap the woman up. This could be after a massage, like oftentimes we'll do like an abdominal massage, or the woman will just sit around her and rub any part of her body with oil and speak affirmations over her, thank her womb for all that it did to support her on this journey. And then, yeah, we wrap her up kind of tight, do the whole body with different cloths, or you just do the womb. And then what we like to do is then we'll sing around her. And so usually she's kind of wrapped up, kind of like a mummy. And her face is wrapped, covered, and she's fully like held. She feels nice and supported and warm as we play the drums or sing around her for as long as feels good. And then we open her up and we say, "Welcome to motherhood." And, and yeah, there's usually a warm meal involved before that. We usually incorporate like her telling her birth story, um, maybe like a cleansing portion of it. Like we do a foot bath or she'll do a yoni steam as a way to just a way to mark moving forward into this next part of her life. Like pregnancy and postpartum is such a transition time. And then it's like, okay, now we can mark that we are out of this sort of transition. We are now arrived.
Well, thank you for sharing that. That sounds so special and so sweet. I've never gone to a closing of the bones. Closing of the bones is something I really want to learn,
Mm.
but definitely is like obviously want to learn in person, hands-on, and go to one. And um, so I look forward to that. But I feel like that's so special and beautiful that you've brought that to your community up there in Michigan.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, it's been such a gift. Such a gift. I'm so glad to be living a life where ceremony is a continuous part of it.
Yeah. So when you talk about like your environment being so important or
Mm.
ceremony being important or like remembering that life is sacred and really weaving that into your everyday life, does that like where did that kind of stem from? Does that stem from a lack of that or like, what kind of sparked that within you?
Never thought of that before. I don't, I don't know, really. I would like to say like I got it from somewhere, like maybe the women in my life. I would say so. My mom is like she really likes decluttering and organizing. And her mom, my grandma, she is also really into like she's an artist and really loves beautiful spaces and creating that. Really don't know. I don't know that I have put my finger on like a source. I just know that like I love making spaces beautiful and functional. And I find so much comfort in that. And I, like I said, like I truly believe that everything is like energy, right? And so if we are tending to our space, our physical environment, that's going to directly impact our internal environment. And I work with, I also, maybe this could be part of it, is like working with a ton of families. I'm in homes all the time, a lot of different homes, and I see how people live. And I love to, when I'm in their home, I love to like work with their space to make it work better for them. And that encompasses a lot of different areas. There's like the main function part of like, okay, yeah, maybe you want like a basket for this item and you put it in this certain spot. But it's also like the beauty part of like putting flowers places and like opening up a window or having curtains, like the natural light. Um, I think there's so much to your physical environment that can really that affects you, like the smell. There's like we engage with our five senses constantly. That's how we interpret the world. And so if we can appeal to our visual sense, our touch sense, our like smell, then we can really shape and how we experience that every day. Even just like in our homes on a normal day, we can feel however we want to feel based on how we curate our environment around us. And I feel really passionate about supporting women set up their homes for birth and postpartum. I think that is one of the ways that we can use that tool to benefit us and to make those experiences a little. I'm thinking of like feng shui, like just allowing like the energy to flow a lot smoother. And so, yeah, that's kind of what I'm. It's kind of like my path right now that I'm entering into as I've played with making some guides and maybe a course of supporting women in um, like nesting, basically. Everyone has this urge to nest during pregnancy and um, being able to use that to really like make your environment a village member, like you have like your village that's going to come help you out. And then you also have your home, which is also just like another part of your village that can really help you and support you in different times of your life. And I found that to be true in like the families that I work for and am able to do that for.
Yeah, I love that. I feel like one big thing that prevents women from resting in postpartum and in motherhood is things that they normally take care of are not being taken care of. And it's almost like this energetic pull of like, this needs to get done,
Hmm.
even though it's like, it doesn't really need to get done, but it I just think it's so much easier and simpler to convince, I'm doing quotes for anyone
Hmm.
listening, a woman to stay in bed and rest or to, do self-care instead of, which cleaning the house can be self-care in motherhood, but like it is this energy of like, this has to get done, especially the way that our minds work as women, and not to speak for all women, but I know that my mind is like pretty much like always going. Like
Hmm.
I'm thinking about what I need to do, what I want to do, um, thinking of like memories from 15 years ago. Like my mind is just going, 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 going. And so setting up the house at the end of pregnancy in order to set yourself up for success to be able to rest and setting up the village too and the support you need
Hmm.
so that the things that you normally take care of will be taken care of. Because for me, like, unless I know that someone's gonna take care of those things and they're also gonna like take care of them well, like, I can't relax in my mind, you know?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I used to when Shane and I first met, like he was like very I used to call him a neat freak and I was not. I was just like a mess doesn't bother me. Like if the space is messy, I can still do what I need to do and I'm okay with cleaning it up later. And Shane was always very like to keep the space clean and if the space is dirty, it really affects his mental space. And now, we've been together for 7 years and I'm more like he was then. And I think it really is, like, I think there was an element of dissociation then and like not really being present and aware and in my body. And because when you're kind of dissociated, it's like nothing really affects you. You're like numbed out and you're just like
Mm.
anything could be going on. And it's just like calm, cool, collected, like I'm fine.
Yeah.
And I think I still have that in me, but now that I'm like more aware and like attuned to the energy around me, it's a messy space is definitely like it's that what's that quote of like you birth how you live? So it's like,
Hmm.
I mean, you do everything how you do everything. Like if your house is a mess, if your car is a mess, like if your house is a mess, like I would bet money that your life is a mess.
Yeah,
And
def
not saying that from a space of judgment. It's not a judgment thing. It's just like an honest observation.
yeah, yeah. No, that's true for me. Whenever my space is a mess, it's when I'm feeling chaotic. And and it ebbs and flows, Like then I'll get in a rhythm of like, oh yeah, doing the dishes every day. I'm feeling good. And
Yeah.
then it drops off and it's like, okay, yeah.
Yeah, it is
And you recognize it.
those little subtle choices of like not doing the dishes. Like I think I talked about this in one episode. Like for me, it's like if I start, I don't really eat ice cream, but it's like if I start eating ice cream or like eating junk food or like, not cleaning up after myself, not making the bed in the morning, like these
Hmm.
subtle choices that are literally me like walking down the stairwell to like depression. But it's like when we can, and that's like, that's okay, that
Yeah. Yeah.
we ebb and flow in life,
Hmm.
but it does feel, I guess like empowering to know that I've gotten there because of those little choices, and then to know that I can, you know, go back up the stairwell
Hmm.
by making little choices of cleaning up after myself and not eating ice cream every night, not watching TV every night, like just
Hmm.
things like that for me. Um, I remember texting with you. And I don't know if you want to get into this kind of our similarities with our cycles, but
Yeah.
one thing that stuck out to me that I'm thinking of right now is texting with you once and asking you if you're someone who eats breakfast in the morning. And you responded to me and you were like, yeah, I do. And you also said, like, having the kitchen clean when I wake up in the morning, like, helps me stay on
Mm.
track with eating breakfast. Because if I wake up to a messy kitchen, then I'm much less likely to,
Eat
want to,
breakfast.
yeah,
Yeah.
eat breakfast. And like, it sounds so silly, the conversation around eating breakfast, but it's so real, like, how much of an effect that can have on a woman and her health, especially in the age of intermittent fasting.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
that over yet? Are people still really into
People,
that?
I think people are still really into it.
I kind of think that's a man thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I eat constantly and I I have to eat breakfast in the morning or I'm a mess. Just like my body really feels it. But the thing about that too is like I noticed like if I don't eat breakfast and or I just try to eat something like a cheese stick or something, it's again an indicator of like where my mind is at. I'm like not prioritizing myself. I'm really stressed out or I'm like just heady, you know? Um, so key. It's key for sure. So we can get into this. Sydney and I, we connected over our same experiences when we're bleeding. We, at least for me, sometimes when I have my cycle and I bleed, I'll have a day where I have like heavy cramping, and then I'll have like 30 minutes ish to where I full on am just like lightheaded, hot and cold, and puking and pooping all at once. It's like full on purge mode. And so I had never met anyone else that experienced that until I met dear Sydney. We
So
bonded over
romantic.
so romantic, this bond that we had over this intense experience. Oh, yeah. And what's really interesting is I haven't told you this yet, but I had my cycle this past weekend and it happened and it hasn't happened in like a year. I told you. I was like, oh, I'm fine. I'm like doing better. But then yeah, it happened this past weekend. And I, of course there's many ways your mind can we can intellectualize it or we could process it in different ways. But I think that's been like if we're talking about like reclaiming the sacredness of life, that's been one of my points because I got off hormonal birth control when I was like 21, 20 maybe. I was on it since I was like 14.
Were you on the pill
I
or
was on the pill and then I had the IUD for maybe 6 months, maybe a little bit longer, maybe a year. I don't remember. But so then I got fully off the IUD at 20 or 21. I don't quite remember. I think more 21. And I I got off I took out my IUD because I was starting to experience this like urethral burning. And I thought it might have been related to the IUD. So I took out the IUD and then I was just like, I'm not gonna do anything else. And that's what kind of the symptoms that my body was giving me was the drive for me to shift my lifestyle and the way I took care of myself. And so in moving into this, like, okay, my body is, making me have like this like purge moment, monthly or however often it happens. I'm like, what is that? What is the gift from that? I guess is what I've been reflecting on. And um I feel like I've just had many years of like remembering like the sacredness and the beauty of being a woman, of being a woman, even through intense stuff like that. Um, I think like my pelvis, my like crown of power has given me a lot of yeah, it's given me a lot of wisdom and paths and guidance towards reclaiming the sacredness of life. Because before it was just about like numbing everything out or suppressing it. And so having symptoms that make you listen, that really make you listen, I'm like, okay, okay, body. Like, I guess I need to recognize how important and connected everything is. Yeah, not really sure where that was all going, but what's coming out. Obviously, I'm still sort of in process, but I truly like I started getting those when I got off birth control because and when I got on birth control it was because my cramps were intense. And so coming back to it and being like fully in my body has really like just shown me like how special it is to be a woman because of how I realize how my cycle is such a like reflection of my life. And yeah, like there's a lot there, but it navigating it. Yeah. We're in it. We're in it.
Yeah. So I have kind of two questions. First is how did it feel to go a year, however long you said, without that happening?
It felt good. It felt really good. I felt like the reason, maybe not one of the reasons, but why it happened this time is because then I started getting scared that it was going to happen again. Like I just was in peace with it for a while and just like, okay, well, it didn't happen this time. Didn't happen this time. Whatever. And like not focusing on it. And then this past winter, for some reason, every time I got my bleed, I was like, is it gonna happen? And I was like creating this whole like narrative in my head and like of fear around it.
Mm.
And then it happened. Um, so yeah, it it felt good when I wasn't really thinking about it. And then when it wasn't happening and I was thinking about, is it gonna happen? Uh, that was stressful. Less
Yeah,
surrender.
that's interesting. Was there something that kind of like triggered that thought of like, is it gonna happen again?
Yeah, I kind of like this winter has been rough. Kind of one of those like dark night of the souls thing. But I feel like I just in general got in a really tough mind space where I was just scared of everything and mostly scared of my body and like what my body was gonna do. Um, I was scared of passing out. And so then those episodes, I like to call them, you get really close to feeling like you're gonna pass out, at least for me. Like, and so then and I didn't pass out this whole time. I've never passed out. Like I don't know, but that was the fear, was I did not want to pass out. Yeah. So that's what was coming up is like anytime I had my bleed, like there are often times where I just like took pain medicine because I was just like, okay, I'll just like stop it. And sometimes I really relaxed into that. And I was like, sometimes that's what you need to do.
Yeah.
Like, um, and that's okay. Like I'm getting married in a month and I'm expecting my bleed on my wedding day. And like, okay, ibuprofen. Come on in. Like, because like I eventually want to get to a place where that's not the not what it is, but sometimes that's a tool to help get through it, especially when the suffering in my mind, the fear in my mind is like worse than the actual feeling in my body.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know you relate.
Yeah, definitely relate, and especially to the ibuprofen thing. Like sometimes I can be so like in a weird way, almost like down to go there. It's been happening.
Yeah.
Like for me, it's the same. It started when I got off birth control, and I got on birth control at 14 because I had crazy painful periods and pretty bad acne.
Mhm.
And I was on birth control for 10 years. And then, yeah, the first period I had off of birth control is the first time it ever happened. And I was like, I didn't know what was going on. I was like,
Oh,
I'm fucking dying. And then it wasn't an every time thing, but recently, the past probably maybe 9 months, it's been every cycle. There's been a few where I have caught it in time with ibuprofen because it's just like I'm not down to do
yeah. Yeah.
But what you just said is so true. Like it is kind of the mental, like there is a lot of mental fear.
Hmm.
And I've shifted my life so much the past 2 or 3 years. And if I think about it, like it kind of is because of that. Like
Hmm.
I had when that was like first happening and I was still trying to work I used to work as a gardener and I was like doing landscaping and stuff and like that would happen and like yeah, just episodes happening in the car and like that's not a state that you want to be driving in. Like throwing up in my car, like barely making it home, and then working at a coffee shop and like laying on the floor in the bathroom. It's like the only bathroom in the place and like having to have a coworker drive me home and like it just like the life that I was living, that kind of just conventional, every day's the same. You have to go to work every day and like if you don't show up for work, it's creates a huge problem and you're a huge inconvenience to everyone else at work and then you can't pay your bills and blah 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 blah. Like that just it did kind of feel like my body was like, "Hey, this is not for you." Like and you probably already know that, but you're ignoring it. So like you can't ignore this
Yeah.
anymore. Like this is not
Yeah.
and I remember even have when I worked at the coffee shop a coworker being like, "Oh, what like have you ever tried birth control?" I'm like, "No, this is me getting off of birth control." And she's like, "Why don't you just get back on it?" And I'm like, "That's not what I'm like that's not my path."
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that is
Yeah.
an option and if you want to do that, do whatever you want, but I would really encourage women to choose the path of embodiment and being with what's real, like you said,
Hmm. Hmm.
what's real for you and building your life accordingly. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, my last cycle, I have this like dance now because I have had like through the pain and intensity some really like cool downloads and like I feel like I'm
Hmm.
literally talking to God like on a psychedelic trip. And also I had one a few months ago that was just like so painful. I mean, thinking back on it now, I think I was making it I was making it more painful by a story I created, but this time I like woke up and I went pee and then I there was blood in the toilet and I was like, okay, and then I started getting a little crampy and then I was like, okay, I'm just gonna take ibuprofen. And it was like sometimes it's too late, like sometimes
Hmm.
you decide to take it and it's too late. Like you
Yep.
really have to get it at the first sensation.
Yep.
But I didn't feel like that happened unless I was just having sensations while I was sleeping and didn't feel them. But I still had the like throwing, like I still had a little mini episode even through the ibuprofen. And I don't know, like I feel like it's a constant like unfolding of how I feel about this, like trying to decipher what it means for me.
Mm.
Um, kind of just seeing like, okay, how can I take care of myself better? What can I kind of, I don't know, what's the word?
Oh, like adjust or yeah,
Yeah.
tweak. Yeah.
Like what is this asking of me? And I've literally like been in conversation with my body and my womb and just been like, I'm here, I'm listening. Can you please be softer with me? Because when you scream at me in this way, it scares me. And
Mm.
it's scary and it's painful and it's like I feel like I'm a child. Like sometimes I feel like I'm a child being scolded by their mother and it's like I get that you're trying to tell me something,
Mhm.
but it's hard for me to hear you when you
Mm.
try to communicate in that way. So like is there a softer way because and I get why you're yelling because I was disconnected and wasn't listening for so many years, but like now I'm here and I
Mm.
am listening. And like I hear you and I see you and I love you and like
Makes me
so
want to tear up. Yeah, that's beautiful.
yeah, and it's like it's not the I found myself frustrated that like you know, the cycle after I did that, like I still got sick. It's not like waving a magic wand and it's no more. But even just like speaking that out aloud now, like is allowing me to process a little bit deeper of like I do come from a home where my mom did yell and was very like explosive in her anger. So just like saying that out loud now, I'm like, oh, that's kind of interesting, that connection of like actually physically being a child,
Mm-hmm.
either being screamed at or just being in a home where someone is yelling loudly. Um, and then like, experiencing that on a energetic level inside my own body now as an adult woman. That's kind of interesting. Don't know what it means. It's all like very back to the mystery, you know?
Yeah, yeah, no, I feel ya. Like that's kind of when I like went on my rambling. It's like, yeah, I feel like I have these conclusions, but I don't know. Like it's very mysterious. Just been a part of my reality lately. What's what made me think of when you said that like you would have it in public places, like you'd be driving or um reminded me that I've actually only ever had one episode where I was home alone. All the other ones have been when I'm nannying. And so like I feel like there's got to be something there, right? Of like I feel like this past one, I was babysitting this boy I used to babysit, and I was just with him for like 4 hours, and I was kind of feeling crampy. So I like drank some raspberry leaf tea and I was just kind of like relaxing into it. I was like, whatever, I'm fine. And I like went to the park with him, and then I was like kind of feeling it more intensely and like lightheadedness, and I kind of started to get scared. But then I fully like relaxed. I was like, you are okay. Like you're safe. It's okay. And I like just let it be what it was going to be. And I was able to be at the park with him for like another 30 minutes where I was still cramping, but I was less in that like holy shit, I'm like lightheaded state. I'm about to experience something intense. And then as we were walking home, that's when it like came over me, and it was like the whole thing like you said, like I had to like have his mom come pick me up and like and I just like help walk me to the car and then like go to their bathroom, and it was so intense, but like the idea of like for me like it only happening when I'm out in public. I don't know if it's because I don't have the heating pad on it or what, like I'm not like fully resting in my bleed, whatever it is. There's definitely like everything is energy, right? And so it's not just a physical thing. I think there's like, of course, the psyche and like the mental part of it. And what's coming up for me too is like I used to be like one of those girls that like I've always been really into like, yeah, I'm a woman, but I was like in that way where I was like telling everybody to like try tampons. Like, and I was like, you guys gotta try like, yeah, wear a tampon, check it out, try it out. I'll help you in the bathroom. And like, oh yeah, get on birth control. Like I was part of like Planned
Yeah.
Parenthood, like organization. And I was like, yeah, pro woman. And like, that shifted into a different type of pro woman. But for me, it was that I had always oriented towards my cycle as this like my mom would always say like yeah, women like we just have to suffer with it, or like um yeah, it just sucks, but like we can be free from it, you can just stick a tampon up and take some ibuprofen and like you're fine. And so not to her like shame at all, that's just what she was brought up with and taught. And um yeah, so then that was like my orientation towards it. And I feel like now that I'm trying to shift that, it's almost like my bleed is bringing me to a place of like you can't just ignore me, like we were talking about. Like you have to be with me. And so I'm trying to find this balance of like reverence and honoring, but not like letting it completely like control my life. Like, and that's in all phases of my cycle. Like, I'm like that with my luteal phase a lot of times too. I'm like, oh, I'm in my luteal phase. And so I'm so like irritable and like life, like I completely like just let it like control me and consume me instead of just like, I want to strike that middle ground of like, yes, I'm a cyclical woman and like I recognize the ebb and flow and I do bleed and I rest on my bleed, but I'm not resting on my bleed because I'm like, because it's so intense and I'm like scared of it and I'm like so controlled by it. It's like, no, I'm resting on my bleed because I am relaxed and love myself. Like that's where I feel like I'm being called to is like, okay, I was this like completely ignore everything and not be in tune with my body at all. And now I feel like I'm like so in tune and that I'm like I'm co-creating, you know? And so now it's like, where can I find this balance of like surrender and like letting go with also the awareness that like, yeah, I am the cyclical woman and like I will move through whatever I need to move through.
I'm like smiling so big because I'm having another one of those moments where I'm like, we are like the same person in some way. Like, this is the exact thing conversation I'm having going through right now. Literally said to Shane like 2 days ago about the luteal phase, like
Mhm.
talking about like the limitations that I put on myself. And I'm like, I think it is valuable to rest in your luteal and the energy is definitely shifting. But I've caught myself limiting myself in so many ways. Like maybe I can be more restful, the last 3 days of my luteal, like before my period. And so I'm like, I'm doing this for like 10 days. Like I'm just like being sassy as hell. Like which that part I like don't really mind. I could bring a little bit more like loving sassy into it, but
Mhm.
I'm like, oh, I'm so tired. Like I'll kind of stop working out. I will like barely work. And like, I don't like just recently I'm just like I'm if I'm so I'm resting on my bleed for at least 3 days. Um sort of. I'm shifting that. I feel kind of good with I do stay in bed the first day.
Mhm.
It normally is because I'm sick, but I have kind of had that conversation in my mind too of like it's really hard to actually stay in bed if I'm not that sick
Mhm.
all day. I think actually we talked about this several months ago. What does rest look like? Does
Mhm.
rest doesn't necessarily have to mean laying in bed all day. Um, I do enjoy doing that the first day. And then depending on how I feel, like I think it really has to be like depending on how I feel and it doesn't have to be like this is what you have to do. That's what I'm learning. But mainly with the luteal, I'm like, okay, if I'm adding up all this like 10 days plus 4 days, it's like, this is like 2 weeks of every month where I'm like low key doing nothing. Like, I'm not doing nothing, I'm doing things, but I'm in this limited mindset of like, oh, I can't do this because this, or like, oh,
Mhm.
Shane, can you lift this for me? Like, I could do it, but I'm in my luteal.
Yeah.
Like, like, shut up.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm the same.
And just really wanting to shift that because lately, the past probably like 3 or 4 months, I really have had this like new surge of energy of really feeling my vitality. And I really feel it because that was missing for
Mm.
so long. Like, I don't even know the last time I felt like I've been feeling like playful. Like I just wake up in the morning with energy, like ready to go. I'm like I have energy all day. I'm like I had a moment the other day when I was walking my dogs and then we were like out by the river and I just started dancing and like I felt like I was an 8-year-old girl again. And I was just like experiencing like so much spontaneous joy and contentment and almost felt like this energy of me as an 8-year-old girl like watching myself now as a 29-year-old woman and just being so happy. And like I could almost cry talking about it now because it was such a special and like real moment of just lighthearted playfulness, like really feeling alive and really being so grateful
Mm.
to be alive and to have the life that I have now. And that, yeah, that was a very special moment and one I hope to remember and hold on to forever because it does kind of going back to everything we've been talking about really inform the way you live and like that a big part of that is the environment, how much I've shifted my environment, how much I frickin'
Mm.
threw my whole life into the dumpster and like said, I don't know where I'm going or really what I'm doing, but I got to do something else and just like building it brick by brick.
Oh, so beautiful. I've been feeling so similar. Like my luteal phase, this last luteal phase, I was like silly. Like usually I'm like down and grumpy and irritable, but I was feeling so light and like silly and dancing and yeah, it was the similar feeling. Also just makes me want to tear up because that has not been my experience like for so long. And then especially with this hard winter I keep speaking to, like it was so healing to have that and to be like I'm about to bleed, but I feel like I'm on top of the world, And it was just, yeah, it was the best. It was the best. And I've been trying to hold on to that because also, like, my life right now is so chaotic, but it's so, like, everything's so good. Like, I'm about to get married and I have so much friend and family support around me, and we just moved, and there's so much that like it's so easy to just like get all like bogged down by like oh like we're moving and like nothing's in its place or whatever you want to blame it on, but like that to have that access point where I was like, oh my gosh, I'm just like I was listening to like High School Musical and I was just like like a little girl, like you're saying, like I was able to like see Riley. It's like, oh, hi Riley, like nice to see you. I've been kind of like this like tight women and like I want to get loose and just like relax into life. I heard this quote where it's like instead of letting go, how about letting in? And I really resonated that because I'm always talking about like, okay, I gotta let go, I gotta let go. And I really like that energy of like us women, like we need to like receive, like let in what life is bringing for you. So I've been practicing that lately. Mm. Been it's been a good practice.
I just love talking to you because, yeah, I don't know what it is, but it's like we're on a similar wavelength or something because a lot of our like thoughts and experiences are so similar. And so
Mm.
it's always so exciting. I feel like I'm like kind of holding back now because I'm like, we're obviously recording a podcast. I'm like,
Yeah.
me and you will just go back and forth for like 5 hours and be like, oh my gosh, me too. Like this is
Yeah.
what I was having and this is how I'm experiencing it. And I feel like it just is like this ever-flowing river of similar thoughts and experiences and like evolution, really.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
it, but
It's
it's really
beautiful.
special. It's so special to like have you to connect with in that like very unique way.
Mhm.
I'm really grateful for it. And I'm glad that we're sort of reconnecting now because it's been a while since we've
Mm.
um connected and it's just like sweet to realize like what is it? Like I don't know what it is, but it's like there's something we're connected somewhere
Our
out.
souls. Yeah.
Yeah.
So beautiful. So cool. I love it so much.
Yeah, yeah. I really love kind of and I don't know if it's like the springtime energy,
Hmm.
but I really love the call to kind of shift, like once again, shift the narrative around our cycles. And it makes sense, because as women, we are always like shifting and deepening
Hmm.
or like getting in a little bit deeper than maybe like being like, that's a little too deep. Like, let me come back out. Like, we're always shifting and adjusting, and um, like rigidity just doesn't work for me. I guess I don't, I mean, I want to so badly just speak to all women and be like, rigidity doesn't work for women because I like in my true heart depth of my soul, like I don't think it does. But I'll just speak for me and say rigidity doesn't work for me. And I can find myself becoming more rigid, intense, and like serious. And then that's when things start to like not work very well. And then, like you said, when we kind of like loosen up and open up and let in, I really love that of like what can we call in versus like it just feels like it feels like a more healing energy than letting go almost feels like, oh, there's something wrong with me that I have to get rid of.
Yeah, yeah. And letting go is like never actually accurate. Like we're constantly alchemizing, And so it's like, what can we what can we let in that will transform what we're currently
Yeah.
working with? Um, yeah, yeah. And I love like again around the same thing. Like I am constantly like, do not take life so seriously. Like that is just something that I'm reminding myself of, like, it doesn't have to be so serious. And that's how I've always kind of been. I've always been really like relaxed and silly and just like myself and kind of like the life of the party. And then I don't know when it shifted. I kind of want to blame adulthood. Um, but I found myself just feeling a bit like heavier and more serious and like
Yeah.
less um less room there to play, and I want to access that more again.
Yeah, I love that. And it does bring me back to my childhood, which was very similar to yours
Mhm.
of like just running around the neighborhood,
Yeah.
playing with kids and yeah, having a really fun communal neighborhood environment is really sweet and something I really want for my kids in a different way, but
Hmm.
like
Yeah.
there's nothing better than like having your best friend live next door.
It's so fun.
Yeah.
So fun.
Okay, so we're kind of getting towards the end of our time, but I want to ask, is there anything that you wanted to speak on that we haven't yet?
I think it's just that I'm just so grateful that we're able to have this conversation. I think I was really, you reached out and then like for to schedule this call. And I was like, I am so not in a grounded place. Like I could not do this. Aiden was like, maybe that's the best time to do it. And so I'm glad I said yes. And I was like, and it has felt like that. Like it really, the ability to think about these things has brought me to a grounded place. Um, and yeah, I'm just grateful for the ability to tell and exchange stories. That's this that's real and that's medicine. And that's I guess something else I'll touch on is like I am right now my work in the world is working with mothers and babies and women, and it's very um transforming and developing at the moment. And I love it. I love how like fluid and mysterious women are. Like at one moment I can feel so clear. I'm like, this is what I'm doing. And then the next moment I'm just like, nope, it's shifted. We're moving on. And that's where I'm at. And I'm happy to like show up in that way. And on the final thought of that is like in terms of the way I want to show up in the world, it is in a more like real, local, face-to-face type arena. And so I'm trying to like navigate that in this online world that we live in. And, being on podcasts, and we do have access to like I could be working with women all over the world, and social media and all that because yeah, that's something that I've chosen for myself, where I don't have any social media. Um, and that is, you know, a pro and a con in a lot of ways, but mostly it's been such a such a benefit to my life. And so far, my business, but that's also something that I feel pretty like passionate about, but also fluid on. That's life, right? I can feel so certain and passionate about something and then flexible in the same sentence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have definitely looked you up multiple times on social media, and I'm like, I think she's told me before she's on social media, and I'm like, let me just I looked you up again the other day. I'm like, she's not on here, but that is like that's pretty awesome to me. Like I would, if you can, just treasure that and be
Mm,
that rare gem.
mm,
There's only a
yeah.
few out in the world, and it's so special. I feel like you're like preserving a part
Mhm.
of humanity by not being on social media.
I mean, like I'm trying, but it's so heavy though. Like I'm still like I'll watch YouTube, and
Yeah.
that's like
Yeah.
totally like it's the same thing, you know. It's the same thing, but by not having social media accounts, I really I try because having our own thoughts is so sacred, and having our own quietness is so sacred too. Whenever I was on social media, I was so overwhelmed by the amount of information. And to be able to really tap into your intuition, like you cannot, it's too much information.
Yeah.
Um, I really struggled with that. So I'm happy to stay off of it, but I wouldn't say I'm like completely off because yeah, still it'll always find you. Like I just need to get rid of this phone and then maybe I can have original thoughts and feelings. But maybe that's not the point though, is like we're all a collective and so we're not having original thoughts and feelings.
Yeah,
We're all sharing it.
it is interesting to think of it in that way. I think social media is really like a magnifier of our connection and that collective web of ideas and thoughts and everything. Um, that we obviously wouldn't be getting like infiltrated with as much if social media didn't exist, but
Mhm.
still that social media kind of is this like real life, almost like brain.
Yeah.
Like I think about the algorithm and I think about like the um learning about the nervous system and the subconscious, and something I've been learning about just learned about was the reticular activating system. Do you know what that
Mm-hmm.
is?
Mm-mm.
It's basically like the middleman between your subconscious and your conscious. So like whatever you focus, it's like the algorithm. Whatever you focus on, your brain says, okay, she wants to see more of that.
Mm.
And so if I'm focusing on like, oh, I love trees, your brain's going to be like, okay, let her pay attention to more trees. Because it also is something that kind of quiets down all of our senses and filters out what's important so that we don't feel every single sensation or hear every single sound, or so that we can focus. And it's literally like the algorithm when you're looking at negative shit and you're
Mm-hmm.
spending time looking at it, the algorithm says, okay, she wants to see more of that. And so
Mm.
it floods your feed with more of that. And
Yeah.
so
Wow, it's crazy.
yeah, the people who designed and invented that are brilliant, but to know, I don't know, it feels something about it feels good and inspiring to know that that's actually mirrored after
Hmm.
us and our
Hmm.
brain. Like our
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
we're the ones that are brilliant.
Yeah, that's pretty cool to think about it in that way.
Yeah, and how you can control your algorithm in real life and
Hmm.
online.
Ooh.
I think that's important of like what you call into your life.
Yeah. Yeah. That leads me to just one thing real quick is I started reading this book called Letting Go by David Hawkins. Um, and one thing that I'm literally like two chapters into it, but I have been so focused lately, and I think the collective has of this like we need to feel all of our emotions, right? And so it's like when you're angry, fully like be angry and let it out. And when you're sad, like be sad. And what this guy in the book was saying was he was speaking to basically instead of that, like yes, feel your emotions, like don't repress them, but through but we can release them actually through love and creativity and this like alchemization because actually like releasing anger just creates more anger a little bit, you know? Like if you're constantly like focusing being like, oh, I'm so angry and I need to like feel it and like be in it, then it's like I don't know, he's like just speaking to this like how then um yeah, that just calls in more of that, like the algorithm. Um, and you're focused on it instead of like, okay, maybe I'm feeling some anger, but let me like bake a cake for my neighbor or like literally like transforming it and transforming that anger into what you're putting out into the world is actually like this like love and like gratitude energy. And I thought that was really profound. I just read that the other day and I was like, oh, that's interesting. Like that could be, but it like but I have a hesitation on it because I'm still like, I don't want to categorize emotions as good and bad. Like I still think there's a time and place for feeling. I don't know, but I thought that was like an interesting thought to follow.
Yeah, that is interesting, and it makes me think of like that's why creating and art is like so important. We
Mm-hmm.
live in this culture of consuming, and it's just like
Mm-hmm.
consume, 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 consume. And yeah, it just makes me think of what you said earlier about like, alchemizing and transmuting these things.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we create something and put that out into the world, most times, like sometimes we're not aware of it, and maybe it's only medicine for ourselves or a healing balm for ourselves, but a lot of times the things we create, like that serves someone else in their time of despair or anger, or
Mm-hmm.
like that guy wrote that book, and then you got to read it and then share it with me, and like, thank God
Yeah,
you did that,
yeah.
it's like, yeah, so, an affirmation I've really been sitting with lately is my life is meaningful.
Mm-hmm.
And really also like backing that up with facts, which is another way to shift your subconscious and stuff. And what you focus on is by that same that our unconscious is going to be looking for proof to prove that things are true. So by saying like my life is meaningful, I can say that and just like that's it. And yeah, that's great. But then looking for facts of like, okay, I know my life is meaningful. One, just because I'm here and I wouldn't be here if I wasn't meant to, but also because we're here to create and to love and to share stories and medicine and art. And it's because it has an impact on other people that are also here at the same time as us, which is like no coincidence, you know? Um, yeah, I love that. And it also made me think of something else you were kind of saying was like everything is I don't know if you directly said this, but energetically I got this. It's just like it's all kind of goes back to love and like, we can get really specific and name these emotions, anger, sadness, joy, all the emotions we experience, but transmuting them back into love, kind of just like you said earlier, not really finding it, but just remembering that that's what it all is.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
I don't have like a complete thought on that, but that's just something that popped up when you said that.
yeah, yeah. My thing is like, yeah, the giving and receiving of love.
Yeah.
Um, is what I said earlier. And it's just yeah, it's like that balance of the consuming and the creating and the giving and the receiving. Like all it's all love.
Yeah. I love that. And I love how this conversation just like so beautifully circled back to that.
Meant to be.
Yeah. So, do you have a practice you can share with me and those that are listening that a practice or a ritual that reminds you that life is sacred?
Like I love to just like I have two cats and I'm also with kids constantly. And you and I met in a very playful environment,
Yeah.
kids camp. Um, yeah, I love to just take a moment, even though it's like 5 p.m. and I'm exhausted, and all I want to do is sit and watch New Girl or whatever show I'm watching at the time. Um, and I'll take like literally 5 minutes or whatever, and I'll just play with my cats. And I think that practice reminds me of just the how every moment is just so important and it like so special and sacred, you know? And it shoots some oxytocin through my body and gives meaning to each day. And that's an exchange of love between me and my animals. That I do love very much.
That's so sweet. Yeah.
Mm.
I love that and I love that that's what you're putting out into the world. I
Mm.
feel like that is something that gets lost in as adults.
Yeah, yeah. I try to keep it, and I think being around kids often is a very good tool for that because
Yeah.
they are naturally in play.
Animals too, I would say.
Hmm.
Like we have our three dogs and even just like making up stories about their lives, you know, or like having conversations with
Yeah. Yep,
there,
I make up a whole narrative for them every day.
there's a dog that just like lives on this property here and the other morning I like walked the dogs and I came back and I was telling Shane I was like, "Oh, like Riley has this like Riley built this or Wiley, sorry, I'm saying Riley." His name's Wiley. Wiley built this like bushcraft thing in the woods and like he's like hanging out in there because it's really hot. I was like, he kind of spooked me when he came out. And Shane's like, what? He's like, what do you mean? Like, yeah, he built this bushcraft. And Shane's like, you saw him? It's like, I didn't see him building it.
We, at the apartment building we used to live at, we could see in all the windows all the different cats. And we like had this joke that they would like gather together for a secret meeting. So every time like our cat Suki would yell at the door, we were like, you have to go to your meeting. Like, so
Yeah,
fun. It's
it
so
is.
fun.
It is so fun. And I'm sure they do have these whole lives that
Yeah. We
we've
can never know. Yep. Never know about.
All right, sweet Riley. Do you want to share where people can connect with you? So, not on social media.
Yeah, not on social media. Yeah, you go to my website, birthasuare.com. So it's like, yeah, just as it sounds, birthasuare.com. Yeah, find me there. Nice to connect. I will see what I'm offering at the moment when you go on the website, but you can always reach out to me and we can text and whatever. Yeah,
Cool. And
we do that.
then what part of Michigan are you in? If you
I,
can.
yeah, no, I'm in the Ann Arbor area, so like Southeast Michigan.
All right. So
Mhm.
birthasuare.com or Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
You can find Riley. Thank you so much for coming on. It's really been such a pleasure having you. And thanks for everyone who has listened this far. If you want to leave a comment or share this episode with a friend, we'd love to hear from you. We really want to get the conversation going between, us, me, guests, and listeners. And yeah, if anyone wants to be on the show, you can send me an email. My email is in the show notes, and so is the link to my website, sacredreclamation.com, where I have some magical plant medicine for sale. And you can find all my offerings and all the ways to connect with me or Riley in the show notes. So thank you so much. Endless gratitude and blessings to all of you, and we'll see you on the next one.